Where them Catholics at? Yeah. Yo, where them Catholics at? Man, what's the matter with these bishops?
And welcome back, everybody. It's the Catholic Convert Show, Tuesday, September 17th. And it is rainy, dreary, wet, and cold outside here in northwestern South Carolina. Thank you, Tropical Storm Helen, or Helene. I don't know how to pronounce it. It's not in Latin, so it's obviously going to be a hard point for Catholics. Anyway, we're back on the show today, and Ed and I started off our conversation just before we decided to come on the air, and things got out of hand, and we realized we've got a lot more in common. We had a rousing discussion on our favorite painkillers, because sitting over here just a hour and a half or so after a root canal, and Ed was assuming that I must be loaded up on Percocet and all those other, but I'm not a painkiller guy. I've got Excedrin. And he goes, "Oh, I love Excedrin because it's got caffeine in it, and it's aspirin and Tylenol all mixed together. It's awesome." So we also learned we both enjoy a tad bit of Metamucil in our morning coffee and spraying our knees and elbows down with WD-40.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, I mean, hey, at least I've got an excuse. As we've been through, I'm quickly approaching 100, and you're only 30 or something like that. So,
wish I was still 30. Holy crap! I've had so many people comment that I look like a completely different person because I had years where I had a beard, halfway down my chest.
Mm-hmm.
It was glorious, magnificent Viking warlord beard, right?
Yeah.
And I started growing it back out because I spend a lot of time outside in the wintertime because that's when I get most of my outdoor work done because I hate doing it in the heat. We discussed this yesterday.
Yep.
But my face gets really dry and chapped in the winter. So I'm like, you know what? Because we get all the wind here because I live right at the foothills of the Appalachian Mountains.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, I'm going to grow my beard out just for a little bit, let the hair get a little longer, trim it all back up in the spring. I'm not going to go full caveman with the beard again. But when I first shaved that beard off, no one knew who I was. Like, whoa, completely different guy. And so now it's starting to grow out, and I look, and this is not blonde. This is all gray going on up here. And I'm looking in the mirror the other day after I got done getting out of the shower, and I looked, I'm like, holy crap, I didn't realize I had that much gray coming in. A lot more than just a year ago when I shaved it off. But I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to embrace it. That's why
I'm starting to get a couple of
this
gray
is
hairs.
This is not thinning. This is gray.
Yeah. Listen, I feel your pain, but look at the color of this little thing I got going on here.
Yeah, you were born that way.
I was, but still, when I grow it out in winter, I can play Santa in the school play and things like that. It's great.
You're Santa. You just grow the goatee.
No, you let the beard go in too. But
I was going to say, you just grow the goatee, keep everything else shaved. You could be biker Santa.
Biker Santa.
Byzantine biker Santa.
Well, I have to get mutton chops too, I think.
Oh, yeah.
That'd be cool.
There you go.
Yeah.
Oh, but no, look, I used to complain when I was a kid, just constantly. What?
Mm-hmm.
Why can't we just go out more? I like going to stores. I like going to this place. Now I get it. I'm old because I hate leaving the house for absolutely anything that's not necessary. I hate it. And I recently discovered that Walmart delivers. And although the groceries there aren't the greatest, if it's something that I need in a pinch, that's what we're doing. We're having our groceries delivered. We're having groceries delivered as we speak. literally right now in the other room. My teenage sons are carrying in groceries that were delivered. But
Nice.
because before that, I'm like, I don't like going into stores. I'm the guy that I'll pull up. My wife goes, I'm going to run in. Go ahead. I'll sit here and watch the door. I'm not going in there with those people. And look, this might upset some people, but anytime I walk into Target, I feel like I'm at a Karen convention. Anytime I walk into a Walmart, I feel like I'm in like the poorest parts of West Virginia. And everyone there looks exactly the same. They're shaped exactly the same, and they're all sharing the same chromosomes. So I'm like, I don't like going in there. Right? It's just one of those things.
Yeah, the weird thing is, I was actually in a Walmart in St. Thomas. So here you are down in the Caribbean or Caribbean, depending on how you say it. But I walked into a Walmart there, and you would think they imported people from West Virginia to be at that Walmart. Same crowd.
They come standard with the building.
They come with the building. It was crazy.
It's terrible. But no, like, I know it gets, costly sometimes because you have to pay delivery fees or whatever. But I'm 100% that guy. This big gulp from 7-Eleven, I had delivered to my house.
That's so it's like a $36 big gulp.
I door dashed big gulp, 2 big gulps, one for me, one for my wife, and this pack of gum to my house. And 7-Eleven is like 8 minutes down the road.
That's wrong.
I just don't like leaving the house unless it's necessary. And I wonder if that's like some kind of symptom of our society. Because we always talk about, when we were younger, well, I was younger, because you've been old a lot longer than I've even been alive.
Exactly.
Several decades ago, we can reframe it. Several decades ago, look at the dating scene, for example. You didn't have dating apps, so if you wanted to meet someone, you met them at church, or you met them at a bar, or at a club, or somewhere out in public doing things that needed to be done, running errands, whatever. You had those nice little meet cutes at the coffee shop, right? Or you're at the department store. I just need pajama bottoms. I just need pajama tops. And then you look at each other and you're in love now, right?
Yeah.
The classic meet cute thing. But people were more social then. Sure. And now we're looking around and I'm like, I don't want to talk to you. I used to love going out and meeting new people and talking to new people. And that's still okay to do if it's on purpose, not out of necessity because I have to go and like pay the electric bill. I love being able to pay all my bills online and just have them auto drafted out of my account. It's great, right? But that's where that used to kind of be this, like the social scene. I'd go with my mom or my aunt and uncle to go and they'd pay their bills, and we're sitting there in line, at the bank first, and they know everybody in line, so they're having conversations. And then we'd walk down the street to the water company and stand in line, and they know everybody in there in line, so they're talking. And everybody talked to each other constantly. Now we screen our calls. We used to just answer the phone. Hello, who is it? But then caller ID came up.
Yeah.
And we're like, oh, we're screening them now. Now it's like, I don't even recognize this number. I'm not answering. I've probably won Publishers Clearinghouse like 16 times, but I don't know because I screen the numbers. Even if you're in my contacts, sometimes I don't answer the phone because I would rather you text me. But I don't like going out. If I want to go out somewhere, it's for a specific purpose. I don't want to just be like, hey, I'm in the car. We're going places. My wife's the opposite. She's like, look, I got cabin fever. Just take me somewhere. I'm like, fine, we'll go. And I have a good time because I'm spending time with my wife.
Sure.
But I won't just be like, I need to get out of the house and go to the store. I can't do that. If I need to get out of the house, I'm going somewhere where it's quiet and isolated. Like I went to a hiking trail or to a lake. My wife, oh, I want to go and look at $2,800 dresses that I'm never, ever going to buy her. Because I'm not paying $2,800 for a dress. You know, we went to one store the other day that she just wanted to go in and look, and they had a scarf in there. Now, albeit it was a nice scarf, it was $900.
Yeah, I walked through a Nordstrom at one point in my life, and it's one of those places where the first department you go through is the shoe store, and the first thing I saw was a pair of shoes, which didn't look like any amazing shoes to me, but they were marked down to $1,800 for shoes. I was flabbergasted, but I guess there are people that buy those things, otherwise they wouldn't have them. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, those people are operating on a completely different level than I am. The salesman tried to sell my wife a bag. Salesman tried to sell my wife a bag too. You know, Rihanna took a photo with this bag. I don't care.
I have to have it then.
I don't care. I can't spell Rihanna. You know, don't care. But that was, he said it with such conviction, like it was supposed to be a thing.
Mm-hmm.
But no, I look at my kids, and my kids, they still love going out because we have skating rinks here still. And so my kids, they go skating, you know, and I'm like, all right, that's cool. We used to do that back in the day. Now I have zero desire to go skating, not because I can't, not because I'm worried I'll fall, but because there's other people there. Like, I need enough money to where I can rent out the entire skating rink, and then it's just me, right? Maybe the DJ. Well, I only really need him if I got Bluetooth.
Exactly. I live only a couple miles away from the town I grew up in, and which we talked about before, and just around the corner from my house was a lake, and that would freeze up every winter, and so we'd skate on the lake and have a bonfire on the side. And I can still go there in the winter if I'd like. And you want to talk about being alone, because nobody skates anymore. So if I strap on the skates, I go out there one evening, it's just me in the moonlight, which is kind of cool. But then if I fall through, no one's going to know until the spring. That's kind of a bummer.
Yeah, I'm talking about roller skating, not ice skating.
Oh, roller skating. Sorry.
Yeah. Like roller skating, like an indoor skating rink.
Yeah.
You know, kids doing the roll bounce thing from, what was that, the 70s?
Yeah, my mind.
You know, and it's cool that there's still stuff like that. But
oh yeah.
I really don't like going out and talking to people when, like, here's an example. I went to Barnes & Noble the other day with my wife. I like going to Barnes & Noble because I can usually pull out one or two gems out of the religion section. You know, that's where I got the Catholic Cowboy Way by Father Bryce Lundgren. That's where I found that one. It's where I got this newest updated copy with, it's just, I say updated copy. It's a cool cover of Orthodox by G.K. Chesterton. You can usually find gems in there. But when I go up to the cash register, I want to give you my things. I want to pay for those things. And I want to leave.
Yeah.
And, you know, this guy, I thought it was the going through the motions kind of thing. Hey, how are you? Oh, I'm good. How are you? I expect the conversation at the cash register to end that way. It did not. It did not. I should not have asked him how he was. I should have said, fine, thanks. Because I opened up this gigantic can of worms when I said, I'm fine. How are you? And the response was, well, you know, my back and my brother and my sister and my cousin Debbie. And I don't know if I don't know if I mentioned Lisa yet, but she's been, and I'm like, what have I done? Help. I'm frantically looking around like, we need a shoplifter or an active shooter, something to end this conversation. Because I'm like, I just want to pay for my stuff and leave. I was being nice. I really don't think you give a crap how I'm doing. You're just saying, hi, how are you? To greet me as I come up to the register. There might be some semblance of caring.
Yeah.
Right. But for the most part, you come up to the register. Hey, how are you? Good. How are you? I'm good. Beep, 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 beep. That'll be 47.38. And you bought 2 packs of M&Ms. And you go, okay, cool. There you go. Thanks. Have a good day. Bye. And that should be the end of it. No. It's full-blown conversations. But it did remind me of when I was a kid. We'd go out, paying bills, running errands, doing grocery shopping, and you've got, your mom or your dad or whoever's with you talking to all of the people out doing the same things because they all knew each other. They all went to the same church, or they worked at the same factory, or in the same sewing circle, whatever. It was just normal. Now, people want to have conversations with me. I'm like, you're going to have to book to get on the show. I mean, I'm not trying to say I'm inaccessible to the little guy, but I just don't want to talk to you out in public, I mean, it's not like I have like Elon Musk level security team around me. No, you can't speak to him. I just want to get my stuff and leave.
Well, that's the beauty. That's
all I want.
Yeah, but isn't that the beautiful thing about self-checkout? And I don't know about down there, but here, every place I walk into has, if I go to Walmart, CVS, any of the grocery stores, even the Paneras and everything, they're self-checkout everywhere. You don't have to talk to anyone. You don't have to see anybody. I love it. Because I'm not a big fan of people.
Yeah, I don't like the self-checkout part for the aspect that someone is getting paid a cashier's wage to not be a cashier. I have to do their job for them. Now, if it's just one item and, the lines are packed, yeah, I'll do that. But if I've got like a full week's worth of stuff in there, no, you're going to do your job. I'm not doing it for you. But I will say there has been some times where I have a random conversation with someone out in public and it comes out to be fruitful. And so I guess this is kind of like what you were talking about yesterday with the kids in CCD. You're like, I remember that one thing you told me years ago, and it stuck with me. And that's why I'm still attending mass regularly and raising my kids Catholic and da-da-da-da-da. Sometimes you have these conversations with strangers and you're just what they needed in that moment. And it feels good, right?
Yeah.
You have this lady, you say, hey, how are you? You doing all right today? Just casual conversations. And you can see they're not. And if you've got a few moments, hopefully you do in a situation, you can have that conversation and be that shoulder for them to lean on, which that's what we're called to do anyway. We're called to spread Christ's love and be Christ to other people. And I had this lady one time, and I guess her husband had just passed away a few weeks before then. And she works over at the Tractor Supply store where I get most of stuff that I need for my animals. And she was in there smiling, laughing. I was like, hey, how are you? She goes, I'm getting better. I was like, you been sick? And she goes, no, it's been a rough couple of weeks. My husband passed away. And so we had this, we weren't packed, or, the lines weren't packed. I was the only one in the store. And she goes and she tells me about how he's been sick for a while. And now she's trying to figure out how to do everything herself because he handled everything. They've been married for like 63 years. And it felt good to be that guy that she could just vent to. Right. And so then when I think of that one time, it does make me like, should I have felt bad for wanting to get the hell out of the conversation with the guy like the one who was over at Barnes and Noble trying to tell me about his family drama? Maybe he just needed to vent, right? Maybe. Or I mean, but and some people just like to talk, and some people, the next 26 customers are going to get the same conversation you just had with them. But I get what you're saying. Probably.
I mean, a couple of times when I was kind of between positions and would work as a Lyft driver, every now and then you would get somebody who would most people hop in the back seat and they don't say a single word to you until you get to the destination and you just say thank you, maybe, if they say that. But then every now and then there'd be someone who would just start telling you their life story and where it went awry. And in those cases, I'd just listen, and then when it seemed like they wanted me to talk too, I would do that as well. And there were quite a few times where, man, by the time they got out of the car, I was just spent because they're sharing these deep, intimate stories and then you're thinking to yourself, well, they just had to do it. They had to unburden themselves, and I just happened to be there. And I guess it was by the grace of God that I was there, because I mean there was times that, and I think I shared the story at least with you. I don't know if it was ever on the show where um, a woman, I picked her up at a train station, and she had just attended her daughter's funeral. She had died of an overdose, and this woman was just so heartsick and heartbroken because she knows that her daughter picked up the habit from her because she was still an active addict. And before you know it, I'm sitting in, she's staying at this sleazy, disgusting motel that now has been torn down. It was such a pit, but we pull up there and before she got out of the car, I'm in the back seat with her, holding her hands and praying with her for 20 minutes. So yeah, I mean, so I'm happy that we haven't completely lost that whole interacting with humans kind of a thing. You know, we do everything online. We have things dropped off on our doorstep. We have self checkout and everything. But yeah, it's a very good thing that we do sometimes still have that one on one. And I think that cases like what I was just talking about are the things that indicate how necessary that still is and how people really want that. You know.
Yeah. And when some people will hear, and I'll admit I used to be one of those guys. And I guess I'm still kind of one of those guys, but I want you to hear me out before you go, what the hell is wrong with you? You sitting in the back seat. I just know it's coming. But no, you're sitting there in the back seat and you're holding this woman's hand and you're praying with her. That's exactly what she needed in that moment. And I believe 100% that prayer is powerful. But, I also believe that there are some things that need to be done. For example, I needed a root canal. Okay. Now I can pray and ask for Saint Apollonia's intercession, patron saint of dentists and toothaches.
Mm-hmm.
And that's great. But I should also make an appointment with the dentist.
Yes.
Prayer is great. Prayer is great. Now I can, I break my arm. I'm going to pray to Saint Raphael, the archangel.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, patron saint of injuries and athletes, please get me back on my team. That's great. I should still see an orthopedic surgeon.
Sure.
And it's because of that it makes me think about the Martin Luther called the Epistle of Straw, James's letter,
James, yeah,
where he talks about faith without works is dead. Because you are not saved by faith alone. You show me your faith without works, and I will show you my works that are inspired by my faith.
Mm-hmm.
If you tell someone who's naked, starving, go, be well and eat well.
Yeah.
But you don't give them the things that they need. You don't give them clothes. You don't give them food. They're not going to get warm and they're not going to eat well. So that's the position I take when people go, well, I'm going to pray about it. Okay, definitely pray about it. But there's also some things that you can do. And I'm not saying that your prayers in that moment with that woman didn't make a difference, because they probably did make a very big difference to her. But what I've noticed is whenever I've gone through something and I'm like, I need someone to pray for me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm praying about it. And someone comes up and they offer to pray for me.
Mm-hmm.
That prayer, and because we don't know exactly how it works, but maybe, just maybe, that prayer is what caused a message from God to get through to me that told me what I needed to actually do. in addition to it. Not God going, all right, he's been sad because his dog died. He's not sad no more. Not that, right? But
Yeah.
maybe it, I don't know, help me process it better because I realize I need to do something. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I know
So when I
exactly
think
what you're
about
saying.
situations like it, some people will hear what you said. This woman had all these troubles with being an addict, and her daughter was picking up the same thing and the same habits, and all you did was pray. You didn't do anything. I'm like, well, we don't know that for sure. You were exactly who and what she needed in that moment. Now, are there more things that need to be done? Absolutely. Right?
Oh, yeah.
She needs to get her daughter or herself into rehab. But obviously there are problems because maybe there's an income issue. Maybe there's, hey, we do that, we lose our house because no one's paying bills. Whatever the case may be, yes. But it's not, it's a yes and, it's not an and or.
Oh, sure. And even in that case where I was praying with the woman, that prayer was preceded with, with her okay, because, she invited me to talk to her. So that prayer was preceded by me telling her she's got to get her crap together. She's got to straighten her shit out, because otherwise her daughter's death is not going to be the last one related to this generational issue. It's going to be her. It's going to be her son who's just now starting to do drugs and so on and so forth. So yeah, I mean, there was a bit of a hopefully a wake up message being delivered by me. Whether it was received or not, I don't know, but which preceded that. And you're right. Like when you ask people to pray for you, like if you're out of a job and you've got the Carmelite sisters praying for you, you got your parish priest praying for you, you got your whole parish praying for you, you've got friends, relatives praying for you, but you're going to sit on a couch all day and eat chocolate and watch Dr. Phil. You know what? You're probably not going to get
apply for jobs.
Exactly. That's the thing.
Right.
So I think that it's through that prayer and knowing that all these people care so deeply about you and love you and want the best for you, that you're going to gain that strength that you need to do what you need to do to get that job.
Strength, that wisdom, that drive.
Yeah. You will
to
be
go do the thing.
Needed. Exactly. You got to do the thing.
Right.
There are works involved. It's not just the prayer. Well, I mean, prayer is very powerful, and prayer could inspire you to do your works. And like you were saying, that your works demonstrate your faith. So you're right about that.
Yes. Yeah. I've got a buddy of mine. He used to be a Christian. Now he is a hardcore atheist.
Oh boy.
And the reason he's a hardcore atheist is because, and I'm not going to give the details of why, but I will say he found himself reacting to a bad situation that took place, that did not directly involve him.
Mm-hmm.
But he found himself in that position of, well, it's God's plan. Or, some people had passed away unnaturally. And he goes, well, people should be happy they're with Jesus now. He felt kind of disgusted with himself that was his reaction to it.
Mm.
Right. And I can understand that position, right? Because these people were children.
Yeah.
That passed away unnaturally. Mm. And that was his reaction to it. And he was like, what am I saying? It's like that meme with the Nazi guy, like, are we the baddies?
Yeah.
It's like that. And that's kind of how he felt in that moment. And he struggled with it since then. And he's kind of fallen into atheism. Now, whenever I hear stuff like that, I'm not saying it's a justifiable reason to deny the existence of God. But I am saying I understand it because I've gone down that road where bad things have happened to me and I've blamed God. It's his fault. He's abandoned me. I've felt completely, like he washed his hands of me. Right.
Yeah.
And I've even had the audacity to curse at God and shake my fist at the sky and dare him to do something about it. I've been in those situations, right?
Yeah.
And so I get it. And it's usually the people who do that. What do you mean you prayed for them? You literally did the least thing you could do. It's usually coming from that kind of a place. It's from the people who have accidentally done that themselves.
Yeah.
You know, not we need to do something to stop these children from being murdered. We need to do something to help these families. It's no, you should be happy because they're with Jesus, which is a terrible response. We have to admit that was a very terrible response from that guy, right?
Sure.
And and he hates that response that he gave. But that's why I was kind of loosely affiliating that with the prayer's great, but you still have to do the thing that needs to be done, right? Like, so something still needs to be done, but you could, it's not hurting anything to pray.
Yeah, no, that's very true. And but I'm thinking back to the way what you were saying about that, and listen, we all fall into that on occasion, where things are not going as we would like them to, and we blame God for that. And when people talk to me about that kind of thing, I sometimes will use this as an example. Say, like, we grow physically. You're a child. You go through these different stages. You learn, and then you become an adult, and you think quite differently than you do when you're a child as you become an adult. We're in our spiritual life, it's the same way. We are children spiritually, and then we are adults spiritually. And most of us are still kind of like in our teenage years, believe it or not. When you think about our grasp of theology and about how God works and things like that. And what I mean by that is that, when you're a kid and you're in school, and when you ever notice, I mean, it's always the same story. If a kid comes home with a D, they say, "Can you believe the grade my teacher gave me? Look what my teacher gave me." And then when they come home with an A, look at this great grade that I got. When they fail, it's the teacher's fault. The teacher gave them that grade. When they do well, it was all them. And we do the same thing spiritually. When things are going well in our life, look at what I did. Look what I've accomplished. Look what I've done. We give no credit whatsoever to God. But when something doesn't go well, then it's, I can't believe God did this to me. I can't believe God's failing me right now. God's letting me down. It's the same thing. We have to understand as you grow spiritually that it doesn't work that way. There is evil in the world. There is pain. There is suffering. All of that is in the world. But God's not sitting up there at a big computer screen and monitor and throwing these things at you. They are here because this is what the world entails. This is what's here in the world.
He's up there looking like the architect in the Matrix movies.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
What was it, George Carlin, where he had all the video screens everywhere?
Yeah. And a lot of people think that's what it is. Like God's up there and he's looking at you having a great day, and you're skipping down the street on it, and it's beautiful and sunny. So he pushes the button to make you trip over a crack in the sidewalk or whatever. And he's not doing that. But that's the way that's what I'm saying. Spiritually, we do that thing. And that's how you run into trouble, though. Because when you start thinking that God's putting these roadblocks in front of you, God's letting you down, God's not hearing your prayers and things, that's when you take a step backwards, and you stop praying, you stop going to church, you stop doing the things that you need to do in order to push forward. It's the same. It's the same thing as, like I said, well, like if you're a kid, and with your grades, and then you get a D, and you say, well, the teacher hates me. I'm not going to get a better grade. So why do I bother studying? Why do I bother turning in my homework? And then it's the self-fulfilling prophecy, right? You're going to continue getting the D's and the F's and stuff because you're not putting the work in. Well, same thing spiritually. If you do not put the work in, you're not going to feel that inner joy. You're not going to feel that inner peace, regardless of what's going on around you. You and I both talk about going through very difficult times in our life. And I'll tell you, I got through difficult times because I kept up the prayer life, because I kept up church attendance because of all those things, not in spite of them. You keep doing what's right, regardless of how much of the world is falling down around you. I think about those images. I have pictures of,
and that kind of.
Yeah, I was going to say. I was
going to say that kind of leads me into. Look at that, we're talking over each other.
No, I'm sorry. I was going to say I have pictures of priests celebrating the mass in front of a couple hundred troops in a bombed out chapel or church in Germany or in the French countryside. Everything is just crumbling and down around them, and they're just sitting there attending mass. So despite everything that's going on around them, they're just doing what they know to be right. They're not letting all of it. I mean, and that's an extreme example, of course, but we do it all the time. We do it, I'm feeling lazy today, or the football game starts before mass is over, or whatever, so we don't go. It's ridiculous. And then you've got these guys who are in the middle of a freaking battle, bombs dropping all around them. They take the time out to go to mass and to receive the Eucharist. With us, well, the littlest thing happens, or we're just kind of feeling tired because we went out last night or whatever. Well, we're not going to pray today. We're not going to go to church today, whatever. So you keep doing what's right, regardless of what's happening around you. So what were we going to say there?
No, I would say whenever I think of that, I always think of the people that try to say, they have no regrets. Like, really? None? Like, I've had regrets after getting food poisoning. I ate Thai food, and the next day I was dying. I probably lost 8 pounds in 12 hours.
Mm-hmm.
No, what happened? You ate bad Thai food? You got food poisoning? Yep, but I don't have any regrets. No, I absolutely regretted eating that bad Thai food. It's like I absolutely regret that. What was it? I believe it was 2008, 2009. Well, I was seriously considering becoming Catholic because I lived down the street from a Catholic church in New Mexico with my wife, who was a cradle Catholic. I regret not doing it then.
Yeah.
I regret not becoming a Catholic sooner. To be honest, I kind of regret joining the military.
Mm-hmm.
Just because it kind of sucked. I regret quitting a good job that I had that resulted in me being homeless and living in a motel for 2 years.
Yeah.
Regrets all the time. And that's why I don't understand when people hear that, like, I don't have any regrets. Like, you absolutely should, because if you don't have regrets, you're not growing. At least spiritually, you're not growing. You should absolutely have regrets. You should regret saying that bad thing to that guy out of anger that caused you to have an evil thought about him. And now you're in mortal sin. Now you need to go to confession. You should absolutely have regrets.
I think instead of saying I have no regrets, what they're really saying is I refuse to reflect on things I've done because I may have regrets if I do. You know what I mean?
I've grown from it.
Yeah.
Have you really? If you don't regret it, I don't think you've grown from it. But okay.
No.
I do not regret. Oh, what was that? Pol Pot. I do not regret killing 60 million people. I mean, you should, bro. Well, I'm not killing 60 million people again. Okay, that's not the point. You should probably still regret killing those 60 million people.
Yeah, that'd be a good idea.
Good idea. Don't do that.
Don't do that.
But no, I get what you're saying. Like, even through the bad things that you've done and you start to blame God or just bad things happening to you.
Sure.
You should. Why wouldn't you regret blaming God for it in a moment of spiritual weakness?
Sure.
Why wouldn't you regret not coming into the faith sooner? Why wouldn't you regret having done those irresponsible bad things? Yeah, well, they made me who I am today. And well, who you are today still sucks. Like, same goes for me. Same goes for you. Same goes for everyone. who we are today still sucks on the grand scale of things, and we're constantly failing, and we're constantly having to move forward and get better and better on this path to sainthood. And I know it sounds like a super pessimistic kind of point of view, but it's not. It's beautiful in knowing that we suck, and Christ is as merciful and as willing and loving to convey us with all of the graces that he is and does give, even though we still suck.
Yeah. No, that's
also
a
comes
very
from a especially from a very Catholic perspective. No regret means no repentance.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that, you make a great point there about that God does all these things for us, regardless of the fact that, in your words, we suck. And that's but it's important that we do think about that, because I think that should inspire us to do better and to try harder. And think about that. I mean, think about this God, that there's nothing that we can do that's ever going to permanently separate us from him. There is always the option, there is always the availability to go back to him. And how amazing is that? And how much that should inspire us to do just that, to reach back out to him, because he's not going to abandon you. It's such an amazing thing. In fact, I mean, I think sometimes we should be embarrassed by the way that we look at our relationship with God. When we look back on those times where we blamed him for a job loss, for a sickness, for a death in the family, for whatever, and we blame, and he was there for those moments. He was there when those bad things happened, and he grieved with us when those bad things happened. He wasn't causing them to happen. He was heartbroken with us as those things happen. And so we do need to keep that in mind and realize what it's interesting, because it's a phenomenal relationship we have with our God that I don't think that many other religions, if any, would describe their relationship with God in that same way, of this incredible, all-knowing, all-powerful being whose love for us is at such a level that if the relationship is going to be broken, it's going to be broken by us and not by him. And no matter how hard we try to break that relationship, and people have cursed God and said, I want nothing to do with him and stuff, and yet he will welcome you back. When you realize the error in your ways, he will always welcome you back. That is a mind-blowing thought, I think.
It really is. And it just reminds me of, my own coming into the church was one of the main things that kept me from pulling the trigger sooner was, well, hell, I'm too far gone now. What's the point? I screwed it up. I crossed that point of no return all those years ago.
Yeah.
And it took having it explained to me. No. And then just having, I don't know if it's courage, but something, having the ability to believe that I wasn't the worst thing since unsliced bread.
Yeah.
Because I dealt with a whole lot of the self-loathing aspect of things. But I really do think that that's the majority of obstacles when you have these people that struggling with coming to the faith. Like, yeah, but I've already screwed up. I've already went way beyond that point of no return. I'll save you a seat in hell kind of thing, because they think they've gone too far. They think they've done too much, but you haven't. As long as you're still alive, when you're no longer alive, that's when you've gone too far.
Yeah.
And no, it doesn't erase any bad thing you've ever done. No, it doesn't erase any mistake you've ever made. No, it doesn't erase how people view you. Like if you've got a reputation of being like a thief, drug addict, whatever, your reputation is probably not going to change immediately just because you go to confession and receive absolution. Your reputation's still there. But guess what? You still have to do the thing of building a new reputation.
Yeah.
You have to do the thing of building a new reputation that you have of yourself, right? I had to do that. I had a very low view of myself. I still don't have a very high view of myself, but I don't hate myself anymore.
Yeah, it's a start.
And it's not something, yeah, exactly. It's a start's better than nothing.
Yeah.
Maybe tomorrow I'll only hit myself 5 times with that cat of 9 tails.
Yeah. Go with the full 10.
I was at 15, so I'm working my way down.
There you go.
I mean, it doesn't change anything in the past.
No.
But that's where the direction of the future changes.
Yeah.
That's where your opportunity to live a completely different life in search of, in love of, in honoring of God as compared to where you were heading.
Yeah.
And I think that's where a lot of people struggle. I think
they do.
I've screwed up so much in the past. There's no point in me making the future different for me because the past is already so thick.
Yeah.
But they don't realize, look, you could be a 100-year-old man and spent 99 years and 364 days living in sin, start brand new at 100, and then die on 100 years plus 1 day, and you made a difference.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's Satan who wants you to look backwards. He wants you to look at your past. He wants you to define yourself by your sins. And God says, you know what? Today is a new day. Your life starts today. What are you going to do today? Obviously, assuming you repent, you will still have to do penance for the sins of your past. It doesn't go away in that regard. But God's not going to condemn you based on your past and say that's it. 3 strikes and you're out or anything like that. He gives you unlimited strikes, but he wants you to focus on today and what you're going to do going forward. Because if you focus on your past and what you've done wrong, you're stuck in neutral. You're doing nothing. You're not going to do anything positive. You're not going to do anything to help yourself move forward and get into heaven. So that's all Satan's work right there, man. He points at your sins. He puts them on the big screen. He puts them on that big 72-inch plasma TV, and he says, look at what you did last week. Look at what you did last month. Look what you did when you were 18. You forget about it, dude. You're fried. You're coming to me. I own you.
Yeah, it's true. And no one can change if they continue to dwell on their past mistakes. Just like it's hard for, I have a friend of mine who, when he was younger and we were in high school, he had a solid reputation of being a pothead and a thief, right? He's like a kleptomaniac. Well, to see him now, he's got a wife, kids, straight lace kind of guy, mortgage, completely different than who he was. He went from being like the deadhead guy in the baggy, faded Metallica t-shirt to he's wearing golf polos now.
With the collar up.
With the collar up. He's got the sports shades with the band where your sunglasses hang down here.
The croquis.
Yeah. Completely different guy.
Yeah.
But talked to him, was like, man, what was the hardest part of getting like your whole life turned around? How'd you do that? And he's like, the hardest part was having to deal with how it felt anytime I told my mom I was going to do something and she didn't believe me because I had a reputation of failing.
Mm-hmm.
And the only thing that he could do was continuously prove, even though, hey, like, I've been clean 5 years, Mom. Yeah, but I don't think it's going to last, because that's how solid his reputation of, doing drugs was.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't been in trouble in 10 years, Mom. Yeah, but oh no. Well, it took you 22 years of building the reputation you had. The old
Mm-hmm.
reputation didn't just go away because you were good in 5 or 10 years,
Yeah.
right? It's kind of like people, on like the weight loss journey thing. Well, you got fat over a period of 2 years. You're not getting thin over a period of 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
You have to go through and outpace all of the things. And yeah, you know what? There's going to be some people that will never see you as anything more than what you used to be. It's on them. It's not your problem.
I was going to say that's on them at that point. Sure it is. Yeah. You don't. God doesn't judge you and look only at your past. And so people that are doing that, they're going to have to discuss that with God. You're not going to have to.
You're not defined by your worst sins.
No.
Other people may define you that way, but that's their problem.
Sure. That is their problem. And listen, and I've said it before on the show, and I've talked to priests. I've read words of saints and things, and said, that lack of forgiveness, that lack of letting go of someone else's past and how they've harmed you and how they harmed you, that's going to keep you from getting into heaven, not them. There are so many people who thought, hey, I lived a great life. I'm a good person. I didn't do what this other clown did. And then they're shocked when they don't make it into heaven. But it's because they refused forgiveness. They held on to the anger. They held on to the hate because of something that they, some perceived thing that was done against them. So, you move forward regardless of what other people are going to say about you, and whether or not they want to move forward with you in their relationship with you. You can't let that keep you down.
100%.
Yeah.
Well, now before we run out of time, what'd you bring today, Ed?
I brought a work in progress. Sometimes I have items that the history is not fully known, and so I have to put in the time and the effort and the work to decide exactly what it is I have. And this is very interesting because what I brought was this really cool letter, which is from February of 1876. This beautiful handwritten letter. And what this letter on this parchment here describes is the building of a new church. I have some provenance here because I have a little newspaper clipping that came along with it that is also from February of 1876. And it describes the building of a new church in Peterborough, New Hampshire, which is part of the Manchester Diocese up there in New Hampshire. And the only thing, I even have the priest who was the very first priest at this church. His name is Reverend P. Holohan. The only thing that's missing out of the article or about this handwritten letter is the name of the church. They talk about how many pews were installed. They talk about how the church was built for a total of $5,000. How the church used to use a Baptist church on Sundays that they were allowed to use while their church was being built. How there were originally 70 families and 432 parishioners. And it's really cool because I actually meant to print out a picture of that Baptist church. Forgot to do that because it's really cool. It's still there. It's from the 1700s. It's this cute little, what you would expect, that little kind of like white salt
one room white church. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah,
that's cool.
And it's still there. It's really cool. But it's interesting because I've narrowed it down because part of the problem is in this diocese, as with so many dioceses across our country, these 5 churches have been combined to be this one parish, and 4 of the churches are closed. These 3 churches were closed to combine to be this one parish, and now 2 of the churches are closed, and so on and so forth. So the histories of these original churches get lost along the way. So I've been narrowing it down. I think this might be from a church that was called St. Peter's. But I'm still working it out. I'm still figuring it out. But I just think it's beautiful. I mean, I don't know if through the camera here you can see, I mean, how old and frail this letter is, and how the paper.
Yeah, you got to be careful with that.
It's going to get framed up very shortly.
It almost looks like it's waxed parchment.
It very well may be. I mean, they even talk about how the church was 31 feet wide and 78 feet long. And they mention certain towns. They started raising funds for it in 1853. They started the construction in 1869 with a Reverend Murphy, who also was from a neighboring parish and who helped them with it. So I'm going to track down, probably through the names of the priests, I'll be able to track down which exact parish this was. But I just think it's kind of cool that I have this handwritten history of this church that's at the time it was built, and it was built, what would that be, 150 some odd years ago, So
yeah, that's really cool.
It's cool. I mean, I love, I say it all the time. People get tired of me saying it. I love this stuff. I love digging this stuff up. I love finding it out there in the world. And I mean, there's a lot of people would say it's a scrap of paper, throw it out. It's worthless. To me, it's not. It's an original member of this church from in 1870s, just barely post Civil War, and here he is writing about the construction of this Catholic church in New Hampshire, which I'm sure was not a hotbed of Catholicism at the time, But I just find this stuff so fascinating. But that's what we have for today, and this encompasses what we talk about. The amazing. It's not just first century Christians who had phenomenal faith. It's not much before our lifetime, where people still had to have tremendous faith, living in parts of the country where there was, this town that this church is in, it barely has 1,000 people living there now. I can imagine what it was like in 1876, and you're there but you have there's a handful of Catholic families. You desperately want a church. You do whatever you have to do, scraping up the pennies and stuff to get it there. You petition the diocese and the bishop to get a pastor for your priest. You do whatever you can to have a place of worship. And now, we're sitting on our butts on a Sunday morning saying, the church is 5 minutes away. I don't know if I want to do that today. You know what I mean? It's crazy. It's not that long ago that it was a bit of a struggle to be able to really fully live your faith, and yet people did it, but that's where we're at, right?
Yeah. We make it so much harder on ourselves because people talk to us at the Barnes and Noble checkout.
Ruin your whole day.
Ruin my whole day.
Ruin your whole day.
Right. Now I'm walking around wondering just exactly what went wrong with cousin Debbie.
And I'm sitting here wondering why you had a big gulp delivered to your front porch.
Because I didn't want to leave the house.
Yeah, I walked across the street for my Popeyes.
Nice. All right. I'm going to go back to being old, and we'll do this again tomorrow. Everybody, thanks for watching and listening, subscribing, liking, and sharing. We'll check you tomorrow.